Here we are. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Welcome to Sampling in Serato Studio with Pudge, your esteemed host and a representative of Building Beats today. Um, to prepare for today's class, I made a bit of a practice beat, I will call it. Tried to give myself 10 to 15 minutes to do something without thinking about it too quick or too long. And I'm just going to play a little bit of it as a preview and then go through breaking it down, and then we'll just create something from scratch. So I'll play this. Right here I have scenes, which are different sequences that I have made. Intro says intro. I did not name the rest of these, but I know just based on how they're lined up what they sound like, and I'll just play this for now. This will probably be the verse. Bars, 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 bars. And then this next scene would be the hook. To the bridge. Back to the verse. So nothing fancy, just a simple boom bap, or as it's called today, lo-fi beat. And one sample source was a Luther Vandross sample. Um, the drums were from, I believe it's a kit that comes with Serato Studio. Once you download it, it was the Boom Bap kit. And I would actually recommend downloading checking the Serato Studio site for the available downloads, because I've downloaded quite a few drum kits, some by people that I know personally, which is a very proud moment. But they definitely add a little bit of flair to your beats to have these access to different sounds. So I'll go through breaking down what I have here. The Boom Bap drum kit at the top here, and I'll solo it, which is what this S stands for. So here I'm able to go through each instrument that I've used. And this is the sequence for the intro, which corresponds to this intro block over here on the scenes track. So this is a 4-bar beat. When I unmute it, the sample comes back in, because that's the only other thing that is playing in the intro. So for the sample, if I solo that, I soloed the wrong one. So for scene 4 has the same sample filtered, which was a pretty simple procedure. I copied the main sample and filtered it. Now I think I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself, so I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to save this project as, the sample was called So Amazing, so I'm just going to title this So Amazing, put it in the Studio Slaps folder, and then I'm going to open a new project. Most times, or when you open Serato Studio, you'll be asked whether you want to make a beat or an edit. This went straight to beat, So we'll start out with a beat, and I think I will do a trappy type thing, unless, right, yeah, I don't have any request for any type of beats just yet, so I'll just go with a trap type vibe. I'll go back into Serato packs. Down here at the left, you have a list of your options of where you can choose from to get samples, to get sounds. You have your Serato DJ library, where as a DJ, if you have your music in your computer, you have access to all of that, acapellas, instrumentals, whatever you have in your Serato DJ library. So I have all of that here. I have projects. These are projects that other people have made, as well as projects that I've started. And I believe, actually, yes, these are also some demos that people have made. So you could open up the demos and listen to what they've done. Drums, you have the Serato packs, all drum one-shots if you wanted to just add a specific sound to a pack you have, or you just want to add a sound on top of a drum kit you have. And then all of the drum kits, which is quite a few now, as I've downloaded a few in the last few days. But I'm going to go to MSXI, or MSX2 Sound Design. I believe this was the drum kit. These were the drum kits that came standard with Serato Studio. So I will start with this Trap Soul. But also, if you continue to scroll down, you'll see this is where you find whatever you need to access that you would like to include in your Serato Studio beat. So audio samples are here, audio samples that are already built into the program, as well as samples that came with the drum kits that I downloaded from Serato Studio. Effects, same thing there. You can access echoes, reverb. You can see in one comprehensive list all of the effects you have access to. Instruments, same deal. Some of them were standard with the program, some of them were upgraded with the sound packs. Plugins, I believe all of these plugins are just basic that come with Apple or come with Serato Studio. I haven't tried to use any external plugins yet. And then you have access to all of the files on your computer outside of Serato DJ, which if you click on files, it shows you whose computer it is, desktop. So I have a folder with a bunch of samples already on the desktop that I have been pulling from to make things. So I will come back to that in a moment. I'm going to start with the drums. Go back up here to the drums. I think Trap Soul. If you want to use this drum kit, you can drag, once it's highlighted, drag it up top to the top right here, and this is the sequencer where you can start to input your drums. And it's almost like, it's another way to refer to something as plug and play, because I like to call this plugging in. You're plugging in the sounds in these different squares, and 120 is like a basic housey type situation. But if you half time it, it can also be trap. Boom. So right now, this scene is set to 1 bar. So I just increased it to 2 bars. Let me increase it to 4. And you'll see the purple highlight is moving according to what bar we're in. Right now we're in bar 3, bar 4, so coming back, boom. Right? So what I can do also is clear this, and once I input something in the first bar, and I increase the size, it automatically copies what was on that first bar. So I can do that for 4 bars if I don't want to go and have to input each kick and snare for those 4 bars, right? So now I can go back and start to input other drum sounds. See what this hi-hat sounds like. Here we have the volume. I have a filter for that hi-hat. Each time I click on the sound, it allows me to edit that sound. So this kick is here. You see this is the individual kick volume, gain. You have a basic equalizer for your individual drum sounds, and then you have the volume for the entire drum kit right here. So if I put this filter on, it's going to filter everything, right? If I put this filter on, it's only going to filter the kick, which is pretty cool. You also have the opportunity to add effects like a sidechain or compressor, reverb, echo, and you also have the ability to add that effect to either just the individual sound or the entire drum kit. So I'm just going to drag these hi-hats out through the entire 4 bars. And click on grid and you'll get an option to now see triplets, or twice the amount of squares or cells as you had before, right? So this is twice the amount of cells that I had originally. But now if I go to triplet, you get a little funky with it. Okay, it's not the best hi-hat work, but it'll do for now. See what this open hi-hat will sound like. Also wanted to turn down this hi-hat. I'm going to put a clap with each snare. Something that I like to do is add a little reverb just on the clap. So if I click on this clap, you see over here to the left it says effects clap. The effects on this side are the effects for the entire drum kit. So I just want to put the reverb on this clap. Now it's big, stadium situation. Okay. So I just added one extra kick. Nice. So we have an intro drum beat already. Now if I want to add on that, well actually let me turn down this long kick, it's 808. If we want to add on to that intro beat, very simply, once I hover the cursor over the next cell next to intro, it says copy or empty. Empty, self-explanatory, right? But I can erase that and I can just simply copy this first one. And as you see, it's very easy to erase and to add things. If I simply hold the first hi-hat and then continue to drag the cursor across, I can erase all of them in one sweep. So now we have a basic drum beat. It's okay. I want to add a sample. How would I do that? Serato Studio has made everything very straightforward. Add sample. It's right here under the top instrument, which is the drums. So I have this Trap Soul drum kit. Also, one quick thing before I move on, you have the option to change your drum swing or your quantization slightly. And you can hear it. So the swing is right here. You see this knob next to the swing is kind of light. You have the option to put on an 8th note swing or 16th note swing. An 8th note swing is going to be a lot more stiff. So once I change that, but I don't move the knob, nothing happens. But you'll hear it as I start to move it. Completely different vibe, but cool. Okay. Now if I change it to 16th note and swing it, another different vibe. I think I prefer it where it was. For a trap beat, I believe it should be in this pocket right here. So now I'm going to go into samples. Yeah, we're going to use a sample that's already here. Ooh. Ah, okay. So what happened was once I click on any of these, it'll start to preview the sound. Unless I click on this little, it's like a speaker uh, logo or speaker symbol. Now when I click on any of these sounds, nothing plays. This is the preview button. And I can also turn down the preview. Oh, that's pretty. I can turn down the preview right here. This is the volume of the preview. So what I'm going to do is, oh yeah, I think we're going to use that. So I clicked on add sample. Now what happens is you have another instrument or sampler, which if anyone has used Serato sample, looks basically like Serato sample. And for DJs out there, it also looks very much like Serato and how you set cue points. So similarly to how you drag the drum kit into the drum machine to create your drum sounds, you can do the same with the sample, except you drag it here. Drop sample here. Now Serato has a auto sample finding option. I have not found, I haven't actually, there we go. Right as I said it, I said I haven't checked to see how you can turn that off. Now I found it. Edit, the top is undo auto set cues. So what happens is it just shows you the sample as is, no cues. If I redo the auto set cues, what happens is the program has already found cues that it, I guess, reads in the sample, and then it decides these are some cool cues, you can use them if you like. So you can check. You have 1 through 8. Those correspond with the top 8 numbers on your keyboard, but they also correspond with different keys. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is actually nothing. Okay, that's really pretty. But we're going to, once again, undo those auto set cues and set them ourselves. So you can scroll through the file or through this audio just by clicking anywhere in this wave at the top here. And this scrolls along the file for you to see. Now also, you zoom in by 2 fingers on the trackpad and you scroll up or drag the 2 fingers up. It zooms in. Dragging the 2 fingers down, it zooms out. So if I'm scrolling up and I zoom in really close, you can notice that there are already cursors here where the program has read the audio file to find out the BPM, which is here, 85. It has already determined what key it's in, so that when you drag in other instruments and drag in vocal samples, it will automatically match the key, which is beautiful. Something that you normally would have had to train your ear for many years to do, which I recommend people still do. But using this function is very key because your beats will be in key. A lot of times there are great beats that I'm not saying they don't still work, but if everything is in key and in harmony with each other, it might be a little more pleasing to the masses, or understandable, palatable, if you will. So what I'll do here is I'll play the sample and I'll listen for what parts I want to use. I want to chop up, as they say. All right, I think I already know how I want to use that. And if anyone is familiar with Serato DJ or digital DJing, you're able to set cue points in your songs that allow you to jump to different parts, the bridge, the chorus, a specific line that you want to play for people, or a break in the song where you want to keep that break going. Now, the beauty of those cue points are being as a lot of DJs are producers and vice versa. I personally witnessed some of my DJ friends and myself included making sketches for beats with the cues in Serato DJ, which I believe inspired Serato Sample, which then inspired Serato Studio. So now it is simple as clicking. There's my first cue. It's the very beginning of the song. And I'm counting in my head the tempo so that I can go along as I chop. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to chop it as I go. Oh, so there is another option up here, which is either you can let the song play, let the sample play as you continue to scroll through it, or it'll stop every time you stop, every time you make a point. I'm going to leave it on letting it run continuously just for the sake of time. So here we go. So I'm actually going to select all and erase because I missed one. But you see how simple it is to make these cue points. And then once you make those cue points, each cue point is like a different note on your keyboard or on your MIDI controller, which I actually have MIDI controllers here with me, but I just want to show how simple it is. Actually, yeah, I'm sharing my screen, so I'm not sure if you were able to see that. But I just want to show you how simple it is just to make a beat with just your computer, just your keyboard and nothing else. So I'm going to chop up this sample one more time. So now I'm going to change that back so that I can edit each chop or each cue. So that's my first cue. That sounds pretty cool. This one's a little bit late. So I simply can come up here to the top of this cursor and drag the marker where I want the sample to start. Close. Maybe too far. Third cue sounds cool. I'll just move that a little bit closer. 4. Nice. That's nice as well. Last one. All right. So now I have 6 chops, 6 different notes that I can use. If I go back here to scene 2 and I let this play, I can start previewing how this sounds with the drums. Okay, so that sounds pretty cool. I might lay that down. But I also want to point out another option you have in programming any of these notes that you have here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chops. There's also a little keyboard looking symbol or button right here under the key shift that allows you to change any of these specific chops into a like one note among a keyboard. It can actually have you set them out almost as if in the MPC we used to call it 16 levels, where it would lay them out in key. So you would now have, instead of just this one chop, that one chop will turn into a note that you can spread across your keyboard. So say 2, the second chop. If I press this, once 2 is highlighted, if I press this keyboard, 2 is now the main sound, and I have it spread out through this entire board, these 8 keys. But along my keyboard, it should be even a greater number of notes. So check it out. So that simple, you can manipulate some of the sounds you have. Now, if you have that sound, you like it, but you want to adjust it slightly, you can adjust the tempo of that specific sound, you can adjust the key of that specific sound, or you can go up here and you can adjust the tempo or the key of the entire sample. So what I mean by that is I'll take this option off. So this is 90s summers, right? Listen to how slow that is. So the preview is 85 BPM, but once I dragged it into the program or into the sequencer, it automatically changed it to 120. Now I can undo that and leave it at 85, and by clicking on sync, now the sample should play as it was originally. Right? Which you know, depending on the type of sample, that may be necessary. For this, I like that it locked it to the beat, so I'm going to leave it there. What I will change is it also syncs or locks the key of the sample to whatever you already have playing. So if I click on sync, because there was no other notes previously, just the drums, if I click on sync, it will now make it so that I can change the key of that sound. So I like that. I like how that sounds a little bit lower. So I'm just going to record that in. I'm going to keep it moving on this because I'm getting a little mesmerized with that sound. So let's go. So as I plugged in the sounds in the drum kit, I can now either plug in the sounds from this sampler, right? One, I can click here, right? Or I can play it live and record it. Because this has, this is important. I keep doing this as a habit from other DAWs. Now I don't want to remove this deck from all the scenes. The deck is the 90 Summers, which is that sample. So when I hit delete, instead of it just deleting that sound, it was about to delete the entire deck. So I don't want to do that. What I do want to do, I can also actually just click on the sound and it deletes it that simply, which is very convenient. Or just hit clear, a lot easier, and it won't erase the deck from each of the scenes. So what I'll do now is I will play this because I want that the swing that I was playing this sample with to be the way that I use it. So also I have the option to leave this. This is the metronome, or the clicker as some people will call it, and this is how I can play along knowing the tempo as I'm playing along, not just relying on the drums. And you can leave that. Say if you don't have drums and you want to play a sample before you add your drums, you can put this on and you can play your sample to the click and then program your drums around it. However, we already have drums, so what I will do is play the sample along with the drums that we have here. So here we go. I'll press play, I'll press record, which is the red circle, which is pretty much universal record in all programs. It'll give me a 4 count, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have the option of recording over what I've recorded, or it um, erasing what I record every time I keep going. I'm going to leave the overdub on for now, as I only want to record for these 4 bars. So here we go. That wasn't how I wanted to play it, but I like it. But I'm going to clear it just for the sake of trying to accomplish what I had in mind. So here we go, one more time. There we go. So if I want to edit these samples, I can do it in real time as I'm listening. And I want to take some of the attack off of each of these chops. So I hit select all while it was playing, and you see it highlighted each chop. And now if I change the attack, it will adjust the attack for each one. You can also reverse each sample. Okay, that might be our bridge right there. Just a simple reversal of each of the samples. So here we go. Now, similarly to the drums, I can put effects on either any individual chop and or the entire sample. So I'm going to put a little light echo, computer room. I think I like the dub echo. Going to add that to the sample. See if we can hear it. You can hear it a little bit. Adds a little something. And now this is where the effects come in handy. So once you start layering sounds and you don't have the specific equalizers and all of the very detailed plugins, what can really help are 2 simple things: compression and sidechaining. Now that's getting a little bit into mixing, which we just want to focus on sampling for now. But in the act of sampling and making your beats and you want things to stand out, I think these can be very helpful. These are theories that you want to look more into, compression and sidechaining, in terms of just for mixing in general. Um, but you also want to utilize them while you have them at your hands, at your fingertips. So I'm going to go to sidechain, soft sidechain, and you'll hear how the drums begin to, there'll be a bit of a squeezing sound, like they make space for the drum is making more space for itself while something else is playing. And similar theory to compression, but A little bit too much to go into detail now, but we'll hear a slight difference. So now you can hear where the sounds like the sample is squeezing through at every moment, at every chance it gets through the drums, which I like as an effect, not on every single beat, but definitely trap beats and certain beats that have a lot of space. It's cool to have things kind of alternating space. Put a little bit of reverb on these drums too. So that's the second scene that I created, right? There was the first scene that actually had hi-hats in it that does not have any sample, right? So I will record the sample into this one as well. And here we go. So that's simple. I already have the sample in the intro, and if I slide over, once I have the intro highlighted, the next cell that I slide over to will offer me the option to copy that cell. So now I have copied the intro into scene 3, and it doesn't matter the number, it's in the order that it is, and actually the order that you selected, in which is the order that it'll play. So I go to intro, it'll play the intro for the entire 4 bars. Once I select scene 3, it will only switch to scene 3 once the 4 bars of the intro is done, and vice versa, and the same thing for scene 2. So I'm gonna jump to scene 2, like, so what I'm gonna do now is copy scene 2 into scene 4, and then something that I made the mistake of doing previously, if I want to use this same sample but reverse it in this scene, I have to copy this scene, and it's as simple as double clicking on this scene anywhere you either have duplicate or rename it. So I can name this one 90 Summers Regular, and then I want to duplicate that, and this one will be called 90 Summers Reversed. So now I can reverse these samples, and I have to now erase the original one because it will play both of them. Now the reason for that is once I duplicate this next deck, it will play both, but if I duplicate this deck and I just hit, or if I don't duplicate that deck and I just hit reverse in this scene, it will keep the reverse option will stay on for each scene because I only have that one sampler. So what I had to do is duplicate that sampler and then play this one in reverse for this scene, and I'll erase the regular one. So clear. Oh, there. Now here we go. Okay, I only reversed one, so that's the issue. So select all, then I reverse it, and then we should have right? And I jump back to 3. So now we have a sample, we have a scene where the sample is reversed. What I want to do here now is add a bass line. And for that, I can go to add instrument. See, everything with this program has been extremely fun because it is very user friendly. Everything is right there. I'm like, how do I add a sample? Oh, add sample. How do I add drums? Add drums. How do I add it? Okay, if you take the time to look around this program, everything is right there. Very, very user friendly setup, and it just takes just a few minutes to really get the swing of it, and you can really make cool tracks in just a few minutes, which, you know, this is about 15 to 20 minutes in. So I'm going to preview some of these basses. Foul sub. How about I try to look for one that came with the program? Yeah, so we're gonna do MSX2. So I want to use all of these things because I believe anyone who's just downloaded the program should have access to these exact sounds. Okay, so we'll use this Flex Mooger bass, Moger. So once I drag this bass into this scene, I have the option to plug in the notes and drag the note and make it however long I would like it to be. And the cool thing about this is it gives you an option to just play it in key. It has already read the key of the sample, and so this is the same key of the sample. So what I did to go down an octave, which I noticed is also pretty universal among digital audio workstations, is Z and X. Z is usually to go lower, go down an octave. X, usually you can increase the octave. So I went down 2 octaves because I'm not sitting here in front of a keyboard, and now it's still in key. So however, sometimes I like to have the flexibility to move outside of the key or just to go a few more detailed notes. And as simple as clicking on playing key, now you have the full spectrum of notes. So I think I'm going to record that. Something real simple. And you see, as I'm pressing the notes, it is showing me which notes are playing over here. And it's as simple as, if I record it, I can adjust them just by shifting. So I'm like, oh, I don't like that note. Let's do it, and then I'll show you. So I already know I played a note that was incorrect, or maybe a few. So that first one. As simple as that. Just dragging the notes up and down, and I can preview it and make sure it sounds okay. So now I have a very simple, and it sounds like it could be adjusted a little bit. For the sake of time, I'm going to leave the bass line the way it was. And I'm also going to add a little bit of side chain to that. I'm going to turn it down and have it punch through the mix a little bit more. So something that is also another option is I have this bass now. I have the sample, and I actually have the reverse sample here, so I can clear that. I'm not using the reverse sample on this particular scene. So I'm going to copy this scene to the next, and I'm going to make another. I'm going to duplicate this scene one more time. So I have the regular, which I'm going to now erase, and this one will be filtered. So it'll be like I'm taking all of the highs out of this sample, and it's like a classic hip hop strategy, I guess you could say, to make a bass line, or to have the sample still present during your verse, but to have it underlined. You know, a lot of Drake, older Drake stuff, they started filtering out the entire drums and some of the entire beat. And if you listen to a lot of 90s hip hop, that the filter was they took the sample, filtered it, and then that became the bass line. So now that I've erased the regular sample in this particular scene, I can actually rename this scene so that I know, right? This is the filter. So actually, we'll try something. I'm going to filter the drums as well in this one. So now that I have this filtered sample, what I'm going to do is just filter the entire sample, not just one chop, right? So that's nice. So now what I'm going to do is the same thing with the drum kit. I will duplicate this drum kit, take the first one and clear it, and the new drum kit that I just made will now be my filtered drum. Right, so now instead of just adjusting one sound, in this one I'm going to filter the whole thing. Right, so we feel like the beat just went to Toronto immediately when I did that, right? That is a very OVO sounding thing, but it is a method that was used by a lot of hip hop producers in the 90s. I mean, just throughout hip hop, where we take the original sample and filter it, and then you have a whole new atmosphere for a bridge or breakdown. And now we have this nice little piece. Very sentimental. So now with the last few minutes of this class, this first workshop, I'm going to arrange this. And that's going to be very simple. I have 5 scenes here. I go to song view, right? And the intro is already there. So if I click on this rewind button and press play, it's going to play the intro that I have, right? So what's happening now is all of the drums and everything that I added is playing. So I need to go in and clear the filter from the first one, the regular sample. I don't even think I want that in the intro, right? So I'm going to clear all of this from the intro. The reversed, the filtered, and no, you know what? Let's go back. I'm going to keep the filtered for the intro. I'm going to take out the reversed, and the bass should be gone. So this is what the intro should sound like. And actually, I want to take those hi-hats out. matter of a few minutes, I will have a sequenced track. Very simple, but something, right? So this is my intro. Sounds like a cool intro to me. So what I did just now was erase the filtered drums as well, because I'm noticing once you create a scene, it creates that scene in every sequence. So you have to make sure the scenes that you want are playing in each sequence before you then arrange the beat. So now I'm arranging the beat by just dragging these scenes down here into where it says scenes. So intro, scene 3, drag right at the end of that. It's another 4 bars. Say I go to the filter for 4 bars. What's scene 2? So the reversed, I want to erase that from this one. I like that. And just for the sake of continuity, so you also have zoom in and out is very plainly right here. Zoom out and zoom in. You can also give yourself a little more space to see if you're adding multiple tracks. Say if you have a cappella or different vocal samples, there's a lot that you can do here. I would like to venture into the edit and remix part another day. For now, we'll just set up a basic sequence just so we can see what it sounds like, and then I'm going to let it play. And you will see it recording at the bottom of the page. So here we go. I just drag these in, and let's see what this sounds like. Also, last thing, once I click on master, now I'm able to add effects to the entire track, which is very helpful as well. It's like you can get a very good sounding track in a few minutes with some of these plugins. A compressor, a limiter. Ooh, that's a little bit too loud. Okay, here we go. All right, then we go into the filter. You can hear Drake singing on this already. Then the main. The reverse. And then back to the intro. And this is simple as I can literally duplicate, add things as you're listening. Oh, you know what? I think the filter part should go there. I think I should double that. You can edit as you go. So I'm just adding scenes, basically arranging this track on the fly. Oh, okay. All right. And there I have about 2 minutes of a track that I can now listen to. Before I play that again, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. My first sampling in Serato Studio workshop, courtesy of Building Beats and courtesy of Serato Studio. Thank you to O.P. Miller for the alley-oop. And I will continue exploring this program Feel free to check in the next time we do this and hit me up for any questions that you have. And I urge you, if you have access to this program, use it. Put the hours in, put the time in, research any questions you have online, or check back in with this course, and you'll be making tracks, making edits, making remixes in no time. It is really simple to use, and I urge you to just sit with it for a little while, try different things, and enjoy it. You know, have fun with the process, because I thoroughly enjoy using this program because it's probably the least frustrating learning curve that I have experienced. I've used the MPC, Reason, I've used Logic barely, and I've been on Ableton for the last few years. And coming into this program from all of those was a breath of fresh air, and it actually made it a little, it's making it a little bit hard to return to using Ableton regularly, to be honest. So yeah, yeah, let's play this. Got about 2 minutes. Listen to what I have. And you can do little mutes. You can do little mutes and things, you know, just to hear how it'll sound. If you notice, it actually records those at the bottom. So that's a little bit of doing too much. I was trying to arrange it when I should have just been listening, and I ended up messing up my arrangement. But there you have it. Quick beat, dragged out a little bit for the sake of explaining it. But I hope everyone tuning in has learned something and gained something from this session. Until next time, it has been my pleasure. I'm Pudge, positively utilizing divine guidance every day, and people usually don't get even. And yeah, until the next time we meet again, peace, be safe, be well, keep creating. One love.